Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Welcome back to our Facebook Live. My name is Ismalia and I hope everyone is doing well at home. Thank you for joining our Facebook Live. So, as we all know that there are a lot of news reported on how children have been experiencing a lot of stress and affected emotionally by this pandemic. And most of the time, parents are very concerned about the child emotional well-being. So some of the parents also might notice that the child emotion is unstable or affected after some incident of emotional outbursts, or even more concerns that some results are resolved to self-harm. So, in order to help parents or caregivers to have a better understanding on a child emotional state, so we come up with this topic to give some tips for parents to help their children to cope with emotional distress during this pandemic. So today I have partner with me, but before that, if our audience have any questions regarding our topic for today, please drop your questions in the comment sections as the Q&A will be at the end of the session. So without wasting more time, let me introduce my partner for today. So today we have Carmen, Miss Carmen with me.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, so Miss Carmen is an intervention specialist and also a clinical psychologist in Alistair Intervention Center. So she's here to share more about emotional changes among children during COVID pandemic. So Carmen, are you ready? Okay,
Yes, let's
so
go.
now today in the news, we're hearing about children feeling stressed and angry. And then parents also are concerned that they notice a lot of changes in their children which may get more aggressive or withdrawn. Okay, so for your opinion, what do you think the causes of all this?
Okay, thank you, Leah, for the introduction. Okay, so I always say that children live in the system, and besides they themselves, they have to interact with their environment and some important people around them, like their parents and teachers. So there are many factors that could affect a child's emotion, and I prepared a diagram to give us a better picture of it. Okay, so now let's look at the environmental factor first. Okay, so during this pandemic, environmental factor play a large role. So in the news, we often see how poverty affects many families, and it could make children feel very insecure about their life. And not to mention that some children are unable to go to school, which causes them to have very little social contact and physical activities that are important for their emotional health. And next, we'll look at caregiver support. So some caregivers who are busy with providing necessities to family could not afford to spend more time and listen to the child. And on top of that, since now all children have to stay at home, so some parents have to divide their attention among their siblings at home, causing lesser time to spend with the child. And facing all these changes, many adults are also experiencing a tough time and are coping with their own stresses and overwhelming emotions without having more resources to contain a child's emotion. And nowadays, also since most children spend more time studying online at home, some children face a high pressure from their parents on academic success. So they're expected to study more at home rather than having playtime to relax themselves. Okay. And now we'll look at in terms of motivation and skills, it's important to understand the reasons behind a child's behavior. So some children may act aggressively or withdrawn to get their parents' attention, or that is how they learn to regulate themselves. So by acting that way, it makes them feel better and motivates them to continue behaving in such way. So even if some children appear to be skilled and well regulated, they may sometimes seem to be out of control. So that could be a sign that the stress they are experiencing is actually much more than they can handle already. Like unlike adults, children may not know many different ways to regulate themselves. Okay, so when the way they used to regulate themselves are no longer working or accessible, they can express their feelings in an inappropriate way. Like for example, some children like to regulate themselves using physical activities like cycling or swimming. However, due to the pandemic, They are no longer able to engage and use such activities to manage their emotions. So they regress to the inappropriate ways in expressing their frustrations through aggression or withdrawal. Okay? And I also like to point out that children during this pandemic are going through a lot of losses. Okay, so some lose their parents, the virus, their siblings, and their friends. And because of this pandemic, some lose their home and their freedom. And in the news, many reported that children have to separate from their parents when one of them contracted the virus so they do not get exposed. And all these sudden changes and losses can make a child feeling intense insecurity, fear, and sadness. Okay? So for children with younger age, especially when they are unable to manage these emotions and make sense of them, they might feel angry for having these emotions that make them feel extremely uncomfortable. Okay. For older children, they might be worried about their parents' health and their own as well. That's why it's important to pay attention when our children show sudden behavioral changes because it could mean that they're actually highly in distress and calling for our help. It could be also the sign of other mental health concerns such as depressions and anxiety.
Okay, so Carmen, from your explanation just now, I can say that to understand the emotional changes in children, we need to go back to their life system. Okay, and environmental changes which play important role in children life system, in which during this pandemic, the environmental of children changed when they are able to go to school, which limited their social interactions with friends and also teachers. Then caregiver supports are very important since most of the time now the children spend time at home. So as an adult also experiencing difficult time to cope with their own stress. So the lack of resources to contain about children's emotion. Okay, so last but not least, just now you mentioned about motivation and skill, which is are very important to understand the reasons why a child behave like that. Okay, so as you mentioned, that the child express their emotion inappropriately as they lose their freedom to usually how they usually regulate themselves. Okay, so some might go through losses of their parents, sibling, or also their friends due to the pandemic. And that is motivate sudden changes in their emotions and sudden behavior changes because it could mean that they are actually highly in distress and calling for our help. So Carmen, okay, what are the sudden behavioral changes or red flags that parents be concerned about to notice our children's is emotional distress?
Okay, so there are three main areas that we can look at it. So first, we'll look at the body side, which is the physical side. Okay, so we will notice whether the child has changes in appetite and sleeping pattern. Either the child begins to eat more or less than usual, or sleeping more or less than usual. And some child who has constant nightmares when they are highly in distress as well. Then we'll see if our children have any pain in their bodies, like headache and stomachache. This is because the pent-up emotions will cause muscle stiffness in our body, which could cause muscle pain. Next, we'll look at emotional changes. Okay, so we'll see whether the child is having frequent mood swing. Like at one moment, the child can be very happy and then become angry and sad suddenly, which is quite unusual for the child. Or the child can become very quiet and often seem to be tired quite easily. Okay, and next we'll look at behavioral changes. Okay, so the child will suddenly become either very clingy or withdrawn from people they're normally attached with. So they can cry or act aggressively easier and more frequently than usual. Or some children will be reluctant to join family activities or they lose interest to engage in their hobbies. Okay? And for older children, okay, I would recommend parents can take note some warning signs of suicidal thoughts. Okay, so it can be the child starts talking or feeling about hopelessness. For example, things like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Or I can't see when all these things will end. Okay, then slowly they seem to lose interest in things that they used to like their hobbies or games. Then they start locking themselves in the room and not talking to anyone. They isolate themselves just to be alone. Or whenever the child speaks, he or she may talk about dying, like, I don't think life is worth living anymore, or I wish I were dead, for example. Okay, and some may even engage in self-harming behaviors, which could eventually lead to suicidal behaviors. So these are the signs that parents could take note for children when if their emotional is highly in distress.
Okay. So as parents, it is very important to notice any subtle changes in their children. So it could be changes in appetite, in sleeping patterns, and in terms of emotions, they can be withdrawn and having mood swings. So parents can take note of the words that the child use also. It could be negative words. And I think it is very important for parents to validate the child's feelings and talk about it. Okay, so Carmen, as we mentioned before that the current situation of pandemic may lead to emotional changes to our children. So what can we do to help our child in managing their emotion, especially during this extremely stressful period?
Okay, so there are different ways for parents to work with their children from different ages, as different children have different needs and emotional development. So we will explore these stages by stages. Parents could screenshot if you find it useful. Okay. So first we'll look at toddlers from age 2 to 3. Okay, so toddlers during this age, they begin to express their feelings through verbal expression, like for example, yay for happy or out for pain. However, they still have difficulty controlling their urge and naming their emotions. So what can parents do is parents can talk about and naming feelings through picture books or offer children ideas to manage their emotions through play. Like for example, jumping up and down, squeezing stress ball, molding Play-Doh, or even can do sand play, playing with sand. Okay. Parents can also encourage turn taking through games at home for them to learn how to wait and manage their emotions. Okay, then next we'll look at children from age 3 to 5. So as children grow, as their language skills develop, they are more able to express themselves verbally and understand reasons given by adults. This is also because they start to understand the needs of others already. So during this time, parents can start having conversations with their children about their feelings. For example, how do you feel about the TV show you have watched? How do you feel about the games? Or even how do you feel about your day at school, for example? Okay. They can also involve their children in caring for others to encourage a sense of responsibility and kindness, which is helpful for emotional regulation. Okay. And next, we'll look at children from age 5 to age 6. Okay. During this age, children start developing control over themselves, including their emotions. That's why they will get upset easily if there are sudden changes in routine, boundaries, settings, or tasks that are too difficult, which make them to feel unpredictable and out of control. So during this time, parents can teach how to manage and control their emotions by channeling their emotions into other constructive activities, like for example, drawing, Play-Doh, dancing, or art and craft. And during this pandemic, sudden changes, sometimes we can't avoid sudden changes, happen in the family. That's why it's also important for parents to establish new routines for the child as quickly as possible. Okay, so parents can set up new activities for quality family time or setting up a play date for the children. And having a routine can help children to know what to expect and to feel safe. It could also remind them that life is not usually so unpredictable and unmanageable. Parents could also discuss together with the child to come up with the schedule. Okay, so next we'll look at children from age 7 to age 8. So children this age, they are better in reasoning as their cognitive capability, their mental development are developing. They are also more aware of what is happening in the society that could affect them and their families. So for children during this age, this is also a good time for parents to share how they feel and cope with the pandemic, so that the children will not feel that they are alone in facing all these crises. Also, it could create a safe space for children to express their worries and frustrations. Of course, depending on the child's age and understanding level, parents can share their experience in a way that the child could understand and not too burdening for them. Okay, so moving on to children from age 8 to age 10. Okay, so children at this age start to depend on their peers for emotional support. That's why it could be hard for some children to manage their emotions when they are unable to go to school and talk with their friends. So during this time, parents can provide support by setting up online platform for the child to talk with their friends, or they could just personally listen to them and take an interest in what they have to say. Okay. Then we'll move on to children from age 11 to age 12. So children this age are more sensitive to criticism and easier to conform to peer pressure as they are developing their self-esteem. That's why they could be vulnerable to many crises during this pandemic, including cyberbullying or exploitation. So during this time, parents can teach children about self-respect to develop resilience. So psychological resilience is our ability to emotionally cope with a crisis and bounce back from this crisis and continue to thrive. So if children respect themselves, then they believe that they matter and should be treated respectfully by others. So in general, okay, parents can treat their children in a respectful manner by acknowledging the child's feelings and opinions. So by acknowledging, we do not judge whether it is correct or wrong. We just accept the fact that every child is different and they have their own opinion, they have their own feelings. Okay, so parents can also point out their strengths for who they are and point out their effort on how they have done something rather than the result. Okay, this could build better self-esteem for the children, leading to better emotional health.
Okay, so these are the few strategies that parents can do to help to manage their children's emotion according to their age group. So I can summarize, right? So at the age 2 to 3 years old, actually parents can start to talk and naming feelings through pictures and book or through playing such as jumping up and down or molding a play-doh. Then at the age 3 to 5 years old, children start to develop their language skill much more better. So at the age actually parents can start to have a conversation with their children talking about their own feelings. And then just now you mentioned at the age of 5 to 6 years old, these are the age which children start to develop control, including their own emotion. So what parents can help actually, they can go through the to manage and control the emotion through the constructive activities such as drawing, dancing, or making arts. Okay, and then 7 to 8 years old, children are better in reasoning and is more aware of what is happening in their society. So at the age, parents can start sharing feelings with each others, and at the same time, we create safe space for children to express their worries or frustration. And then they start to depend on peers for emotional support at the age of 8 to 10 years old. Okay, so parents can help to manage children's emotions by providing support and setting up online platform for children to reach out with their children, with their friends, especially during this pandemic. Okay, and lastly, it's 11 to 12 years old, which is these are the age that they are more sensitive to criticism and are very easier to conform to peer pressure as they start to develop their own self-esteem. Okay, so parents can start to treat the children in a very respectful manner by acknowledging the child's feelings and opinions. Okay, so when talking about emotion also, I would like to recommend one of a movie that talk about emotion, which is Inside Out. So this is a good movie to know more about emotion and how to regulate the emotion. So parents can spend more time to have movie dates with your children at home So as the children spend most of the time at home, let's we as a parent create safe and comfortable environment for children at home so that they are able to express their feeling comfortably with the parents. Okay, so Carmen, this is may sound doable for typical children. How about the special needs children? For example, autism children. Okay, so we know that autism children, some are very routine, they are very rigid, and some of them might have difficulty to express themselves. So they may have more challenges in accepting changes and expressing their feelings. So for them, what will you suggest for parents to help them?
Okay, so during this pandemic, children with special needs will take more time, like I said, to adjust to the new normal compared to typically developed children. So when they are highly in distress, parents also can take note of their same thing, physical and psychological changes. For example, their changes in appetite and sleeping patterns, or they're having more emotional outbursts than usual and acting more aggressively. So similarly, there are different ways to go about depending on the child's need. Okay, so for children who needs more movement and physical activities, however, I understand that they are not able to engage in outdoor activities due to the pandemic. So some of them might become extremely restless and irritated at home. So actually, parents can organize some indoor obstacle course where they can leap from one place to another place or transfer balls from one end to another end, just to allow them to have a platform to release their energies. Okay, and parents could also have yoga for kids where they can pretend to be a tree, pretend to be a flower for them, okay, to just move around as well. And also for parents, we can do, if we have just a limited space at home, we can just do something like animal walk like a cat, walk like a duck, walk like a frog, or even as simple as we can just open some songs from YouTube and just dance along with the kid. Actually, dancing can also allows them to have the freedom to move in the limited space as well. Or parents can do something like treasure hunt or some simple wheelbarrow activities for them. Okay, and for children that have difficulty adjust to new routine, so this pandemic, right? So parents can establish and showing the child a new routine using visual schedule. Okay, so I have an example here. Please tell me if you cannot see it properly. Okay. So this is how a visual schedule will look like. We'll write today's schedule. So your page, what is it? Okay, so for example, the first one we'll do exercise. Okay, next one we'll do reading, and then we'll go for snack time. Okay, so how you do is you will go through once with the child. Then after you finish the first one, okay, we finish exercise reading, then you take out and put. Then next we'll do reading. Okay, so this is how visual schedule work. So putting a schedule in a picture form, it allows the children to have a better idea of what is actually happening. Okay, so that they can understand better and they can predict of what will happen as well. Okay, and parents can also use social story. That I have one here. Okay, for them to understand the schedule or how to calm themselves down when they're getting angry by using calming strategy like deep breathing or counting. Okay, so parents could also put up reminder cards around the wall in the space that the child is always in it, like always play. So it's important to remember that for the reminder card, we need to write what the child needs to do, rather than what they should not. Like for example, we write, okay, jump on the trampoline 10 times when you are angry. So we don't write, do not hit the wall when you're angry. We write what they should do. So they should jump on the trampoline 10 times when they are angry. Okay. So for children who have limited language ability, okay, they may have difficulty expressing themselves verbally. So of course, parents can consider using PACS, the Picture Exchange Communication System, that will look something like this. Okay, so we'll prepare a lot of different feeling cards here. So, and then down here, we'll have one strip for the child to make a sentence on how he or she will feel. So for example, so if the child wants to say, I feel happy. So he'll put here like this. So we will know actually how the child is feeling, okay, by using hats. Okay. So also, of course, in terms of emotional regulation, there are many ways to express our feelings and not just words. So parents could encourage the child to express their emotions through other medium. For example, sensory play. Can play with rice, with flour, water, beans, sand, anything that they like. Okay, or you can do some art and craft. Art and craft, you can do hand painting or collage. Collage, you can use different material other than paper. You can use pom-pom or something which is fluffy, feathery, or beads, something that they can touch and just put on the paper to release their emotions. Okay, so of course, it will be also good for them to have a special corner of their own to calm themselves down when they are overwhelmed. So during this time also, parents can also provide massage for some children who need deep pressure to feel calm. Okay. Okay. Of course, the most important, lastly, is still important to acknowledge their feelings. Okay. So children with special needs often face many challenges in their daily living skills. So it could range from as small as wearing clothes properly to doing online assignments. So when the task is too difficult for them, it also means that it's easier for them to make mistakes repeatedly and they would get frustrated easily. So I understand that sometimes we could also be very frustrated when we see the child needs to redo the work that is given to them. At the same time, we need to remember that the child could also feel frustrated with themselves for making mistakes repeatedly. So acknowledge that yes, it is difficult for them, and parents can offer support by breaking down the task into smaller steps. Okay, all in all, it's still important for the parents to talk with the child's occupational therapists and speech therapists on how to work better with them in terms of expressing their feelings and emotional regulation.
Okay, so these are for special need children. So just now you mentioned it will be good if parents are able to occupy their time during pandemic with some indoor activities such as treasure hunt, simple wheelbarrow activities, or obstacle course motor activities around the house. So the movement and physical activities somehow also will help special need children to regulate their self-image better. So as we know that autistic children are very routine in their life, so sudden changes in their routine can be explained using a visual schedule. So you also mentions that parents can use social story that tell better way how to regulate and express their feelings. Okay, and then reminder card as one of the way to help special needs children to regulate their feelings. For example, a reminder card that tells children when they feel upset is to jumping on trampoline 10 times. Okay, and then lastly, for children's special needs children that have difficulty to express their self, so it will be good if parents can practicing hard to have better platform of communications with the kids. So when the kid shows that I am feel upset, I'm not happy, so the parents will know that their kids is upset and will do some activities to relieve the feelings. Okay, so the tips that you mentioned coming earlier are very helpful for parents to help the children. But as we know that it is very difficult also for parents to take note about the children. So how can we help parents itself to regulate their own self?
Mm. Okay, so of course, parents need to keep their mental health in check in order to support their children better. So actually, here are some of the suggestions that parents can do as a form of self-care. So first of all, choose what we can control, or in other words, pick our battle. Okay. So during this pandemic where a lot of sudden changes are happening, every one of us is trying to regain control in order to feel safe and secure. So as parents, we are also trying to make sure everything is under control, including our children's behavior. However, when even we are in our limits already, we need to see what are the things that we can actually control. Is it our children or our emotions? So parents can choose to manage our own emotions first before attending to others. So in the meantime, parents can give their children some sense of control by allowing them to choose what they want to eat for dinner. It's okay for parents to delegate the task to their children. It's okay to share some of your responsibilities and lighten the weight on our shoulder. So as parents, we do not need to be the only person to make sure that everything in the house is under control. Okay? And next, walk away. Okay? So if you're feeling overwhelmed, just walk away from the trigger. So if your child is having an emotional time and it makes you feel overwhelmed, walk away and calm yourself down before coming back and responding. We can always respond better when we are calm. And there are some skills that we can use to calm ourselves down. Okay, so firstly, there are deep breathing. Okay, so now I'll demonstrate how to do it. Okay, maybe all of you can do together with me, including Leah. Okay, we can do together. Okay, so firstly, you put one hand on the chest and another on the belly. Okay, so we'll breathe through our nose for 4 seconds. So when we breathe in, we make sure the hand on our belly is pushed outwards and the hand on the chest is not moving. That's when we say we breathe with our stomach. Breathe through our stomach. Okay? So we hold the breath for 7 seconds. Then we'll breathe out through our mouth for 8 seconds. Okay. So we'll do it another round. Breathe in. Then we hold. Breathe out. Okay. So that's how deep breathing works. And the timing for the deep breathing can actually be adjusted based on individuals because some people may have difficulty holding their breath for too long. Okay. So another skill that we can use is grounding exercise. So it also helps to bring our mind to focus on what is happening around us at the moment, which could help to calm our emotions. So first, we'll list the 5 things that we can see. Like for example, what I can see now is a bottle, a table, a laptop, whiteboard, duster. Okay, 5 things already. Then we can list down 4 things that you can feel. So I feel hard surface, cold surface, soft, or fluffy. Okay, already. Then we'll list down 3 things that you can hear. Then I can hear the aircon, the raining, thunder. Okay, so it's 3 things already. I can hear it for now. Okay, and 2 things that you can smell. For example, okay, smell the sanitizing smell. Okay, sanitizer. And then one is my own perfume, for example. Okay, and then we list down 1 thing that you can taste. So I taste chocolate, okay, because I just ate chocolate before this. Okay, yeah. So this exercise can help us to calm down and bring back to the present. Okay, so parents could also work together in managing the child's emotion. So let's say if you are overwhelmed, actually your partner, who are available, could intervene and support the child. Okay, so next is to reconnect with the things that you enjoy. So it's okay for parents to have some me time because everyone needs that. Okay, so it does not need to be well planned or exclusive. It can be as simple as taking a hot shower bath. Okay, we can either get in touch with our hobbies or activities, or making the choice to learn a new skills. So we can also make activities with our children fun, like for example, baking together or completing our projects. Okay. So here has another 3 tips. Okay, so next is maintain healthy lifestyle. Firstly, have enough sleep. So people who do not get enough sleep or rest will not have the energy to face daily life stresses. Makes sense, right? Okay, so an adequate and consistent sleeping schedule is important for our physical and mental health. And secondly, have a proper nutrition. Okay, it is very important as it gives us energy to face daily stresses as well. And thirdly is to exercise. Moving our body could help improving our mood. I understand that it would be difficult to go out during this pandemic, so we could start small at home, like dancing, dance with your child, or maybe stretching for 10 minutes per day. It helps also. Okay, so next is acknowledge your feelings. Okay, so it's okay for us to feel sad because all of us are human beings that are born with emotions. So remember, just now I think Leah said that there's no right or wrong feelings, validating, and it's just how we feel, and it's okay. And before we could validate and acknowledge our children's feeling, we need to start with validating our own feelings first. So acknowledge our feelings as stress. We need to remember that we are important too. Okay. So instead of telling ourselves, you should not feel this, you should not feel that, try telling ourselves, yes, I'm feeling sad because things are hard now and I'm trying my best. Okay. So of course, always focus on the things that we have done rather than the one that we could not. Okay, so lastly is to reach out. Okay, so if you think you cannot handle things alone really, talk to someone whom you trust and can understand you. So it may be calming to describe what is worrying you. So by telling someone, it also gives an opportunity for us to hear ourselves out. And having this type of support system is important during these challenging times. And I understand that it could be difficult for us to go out and meet our friends. So maybe we could gather together and create an online group. We can make video calls through Zoom, Skype, or Google Meet. Or even WhatsApp have the group video call function that we can utilize. Okay? And now as the awareness of mental health are increasing, there are many NGOs create free hotlines to provide emotional support for the public. Like for adults, we have Befrienders and Lifeline, and for children, we have the Buddy Bag. So if things are getting really tough, do consider seeking professional services from a counselor or a clinical psychologist. Okay?
Okay, so I can summarize that for parents to help children to regulate their emotion, first of the important thing is to strengthen our own support system. So as Carmen mentioned just now, that it is good for parents um, to choose the things that they can decide or to put on battles, okay? And walk away is one of the methods to calm ourselves when we are overwhelmed with everything around us, okay? And you also share few methods to calm ourselves, such as deep breathing and grounding exercise, okay? Parents parents also should acknowledge their own feelings. It's okay if we feel not okay. Keep on. We are humans that are born with the emotions. Then during this pandemic, it will be good if we keep on reaching out with other persons, such as our family, our close friends, or our colleagues. Okay, talk with someone that you are comfortable. Then don't keep it alone within yourself. Okay, and then Carmen, actually, this is the last question from me. Okay, now because we are open questions to the floor, so our viewers are also welcome to ask questions to Carmen regarding our topic for today. Okay, let's see. Is there any question? All right, Carmen, so are you ready for Q&A? Because I saw one question already.
Yes, I'm ready. Let's
Okay,
go.
so this is question number one. Okay, my son has become aggressive. Has My son has become quite aggressive. So when I did some research about it, I found out about ODD. So can the effect of lockdown cause my son to have ODD? So what's in your opinions, Carmen?
Okay, so ODD. Okay, so ODD is for parents that who are not familiar with, it's actually an oppositional defiant disorder. So actually, it is one of the psychological conditions that involve problem in self-control of emotions and behavior that cause the child to have significant conflict with adults. Okay, so for ODD, right? Actually, in order to be diagnosed with ODD, there are certain criteria that need to be fulfilled based on the diagnostic criteria. So it's normally will be diagnosed by a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist. So I'll just briefly explain on what is ODD before I go to that question. So ODD, right? For the child to have ODD, they have to have a frequent and persistent pattern of angry or irritable mood. And so the person is always lose temper, for example, and is always easily annoyed the child. Okay. And next, second criteria is that the child will always be argumentative or having defiant behavior. Like for example, they will talk back, they will often argue with you. Okay, they often refuse to comply with any of the instructions or any rules, or they will often annoy other on purpose. So this is the second main characteristic. So the third characteristic is vindictiveness, meaning that the child will always do something to get back at you. For example, they'll sabotage your project, destroy your things just to get revenge, just to get revenge on you. Okay, so for even though some children may exhibit some of this behavior, but what is important is to look at the time frame as well. So it has to be at least 6 months, and it has to be very frequent, like it happens most of the day in a week. Okay, and there are a lot of debates regarding in terms of diagnosing ODD because, like I say, some children may exhibit some of these behaviors, especially during this pandemic, like we discussed, they have because they are highly in distress, so they get more aggressive as well. So generally, it would take a detailed assessment through interviews, observations, standardized questionnaires, and reports from others, such as teachers, to come up with a diagnosis. So this is to make sure that the diagnosis is accurate and the signs of emotional and behavioral concerns are not part of a normal expression, that what I say, due to other factors. So if the parents are concerned, I would suggest to seek professional services from a clinical psychologist to just assess the child. Maybe the child have another concern, some other emotional concerns as well. Yes, did I answer the question? Yes, answer the question.
Okay, so from your explanation just now, we can, as a parent, also we cannot easily assume from what our children's behave to jump out on the conclusion that the child actually have the ODD. But we need to go back to the characteristic of the ODD and how long actually the behaviors, the aggressiveness is occur. And then if we are still concerned, it will be good if we seek for the professional help, right, Helen? Okay,
Yes.
and then okay, let's move on to next question. Okay, so actually this question is from Azah Anwar. Okay, so the question is, hi, why my child non-stop asking for food even after her lunch or dinner? Do you have any opinion? What's your answer, Carmen?
Asking for food after lunch or dinner. Okay, so the parents is concerned because just now what I shared, is it about the changes in appetite? Is it? Okay, so actually in terms of this, right, we will look back. As well, it's important to look back at how old is your child. Okay, is it the based on the development, what is the actually appropriate? This one have to also have to consult nutritionist. Okay, so how much is the amount that the child actually needs to take? Another things that we need to see is whether it is sudden changes. It is like suddenly they eat extremely a lot. Okay, and also it depends on what are the activities the child did on that day. Okay, so maybe the child did something physical activities that use a lot of energy, so that's why the child need more food. It could be in that. So it's actually, that's why I say it's very important to see what is the reason behind the child requesting and any other factors that could affect it. And also whether the child has any other signs other than maybe what your concern is having appetite change. Maybe you can look up of sitting pattern, or maybe on the mood change, and behavioral also. So it actually need to come in more package.
Okay, understand. So when sudden changes in our children, so we need to look at all their environment actually, right? Their sleeping pattern, their everything that could affect why the child is non-stop requesting for the food. Okay, and then are you ready for question number three? Okay, this question is from Elisa Angelica Choi. Okay, so the question is, my child refuses to join online class and I am having difficult time to make them complete their homework. How can I help them to complete their homework and at the same time join their online class?
Okay. So again, looking at the child situation, we need to see what are the factors or reason that the child is actually refusing to complete their homework or join the online classes. Could it be that the environment, because now we are having classes at home, right? Could it be the environment is not very conducive for the child? Is it because it's noisy, that he's got distracted, or is it there's toys nearby that he got distracted? Okay, so that is one, environment. So second, we can see whether is it because the child have difficulty sustaining attention for a long time. That's why he got a bit frustrated, a bit restless like that. That's another thing. Third one is it because the child doesn't know when the class is going to end. That's why the child's like, okay, I wouldn't want to join anymore. Okay, so looking at that, what we can do is actually, like I said just now, we can provide the child with a visual schedule. So the day before, parents can actually prep the child already. Okay, so tomorrow you'll have this class, this class, this class. So each class will take about 30 minutes. Okay, this class, this class, this class. So what will you learn tomorrow? So the child is actually having the mindset already. Okay, tomorrow morning from this time, this time I will have class. Okay. Second is that maybe some child, like I said, maybe they need movement. Okay, they have difficulty sitting on the chair for too long. So maybe if they can sit on a gym ball or standing up. Standing up so that they have freedom to move their leg while also paying attention to the screen. Okay. Yeah, so if homework, we have to see whether the task is too difficult for the kids. So parents can actually also try to break down the task step by step for the kids so that they won't feel overwhelmed, like, so many to do, like that. Okay.
Okay, understand. And from what Carmen just explained answering the question just now, I would like to add on one of the way that maybe can help the parents to encourage the kids to do homework and online classes, which is a rewarding system. Maybe have the kids who have their after finish all the tasks for the day, then maybe the kids can have their own time as a reward that you accomplish your school homework already. Okay, right. So let's go to questions number four. Okay, so this is from Pauline Nonis. Okay, hi, hi. So I noticed yesterday that my son is more aggressive. So if we say no to him, he will get angry and hit me or my husband. So, Carmen, so what do you think?
Yeah, so this is quite common. I believe it's quite common that happens to a lot of parents. Okay, so firstly, it's same thing again. It depends on the developmental level of the child. We need to see on what is the reason behind the child is exhibiting such behavior. So is it because he's actually highly in distress, but he doesn't know how to express his frustration because he get rejected, right? So is it because he's very angry, but he cannot express verbally. That's why he used express through physical gesture, which is the hitting part. That's one. So what can parents do? Like I said, maybe help the child to label their emotions. That okay, you are angry now, so the child will register. Okay, so this is what I'm feeling angry. So they can learn the word angry, so they can express it verbally. Or we can use that. What I said, use the text to have the angry picture. Okay, for them to hold when they are angry. Another thing is also we need to see how the parents react after the child hit the parents. Some parents will just give in to the child's request after the child hit. So it goes back to the motivation. So the child learned that, okay, so if I get rejected and I hit my parents, I'll get whatever I want. So it actually motivates them to continue to exhibit such behavior. So another thing that's why for parents is to have firm boundary. Another thing is acknowledge that they are feeling angry and teach them how to express their anger appropriately. Like I said, they can go jump the trampoline, they can squeeze stress ball, or even with the play-doh, molding the play-doh. So one is acknowledging, having firm boundary, and then also is to teach them how to manage their anger. Yeah.
Thank you, Carmen. So for the parents to deal with this type of children, first from the boundaries, acknowledge the children's feelings, okay? And then I think I will add, maybe it's how the parents react to the actions. Whether when the children hit you, whether you encourage them while doing nothing, or you be more firm, be more stern with children, saying that this is not good on how you express you are upset or angry, right? So okay, now are we answering the question? Okay, so let's move on to questions number 5. I think this is our audience from questions number 2 also, which is Miss Azah Anwar. Okay, she asked, why is it hard for my child to sleep early or nap, although he is already very, very tired?
Why is it hard? Okay. All right. So this one, it depends on the routine pattern as well. Like I said, children, that depends a lot on consistency and routine. So we'll see. Okay, so if your child is very active, even though it's tired, is it because that time you are actually having playing with him is the time that you're actually having playtime with him? So he knows that, okay, now it's playtime, even though I have to sleep, but I'm still very hyper because I'm expecting my parents to play with me. That's one. Second one is the routine before sleep. So one of it is, I would say, is screen time. So I think nowadays a lot of children staying at home, so they have more screen time. So before sleep, I would recommend that at least 2 to 3 hours there's no screen time for the kids, so that they can tone down and get ready then to sleep already. Okay, and also somewhat when parents do is actually, like I say, routine before bedtime. Okay, showering, drinking milk, having quiet time, reading book together, do something that is quiet. Okay, so to tone down and let the child have the mindset, okay, it's at night already, everything has to be quiet, I have to go to sleep already. Okay, it depends on what you do and the routine as well. Yeah, that's the question.
Okay, so based on your explanation just now, why is it hard for the children? Maybe we can look back of their routine before they go and sleep. Maybe we can do some routine before going to sleep. And I think most of the important thing is to reduce, or maybe to take 2 hours off of screen time. Maybe the screen time, maybe some of the children, they have a screen time before going to sleep, right? So maybe that's one of the reasons the child maybe getting hard to fall asleep. Okay, so we still have another 2 last questions. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the question is from Serena Pang. I'm working mom. I'm going to office every day, but his dad work at home. So each time I came back, he will show tantrums and mouth to me. Carmen, can you guide me how to resolve this? Please, Miss Carmen.
Yeah, can you repeat the question again?
So I'm working mom and going to office every day, but his dad work at home. So every time the mom go home, come back home, so he will show tantrum and mouth to me. So the parents want the guide from you on how to resolve the tantrum from the kids.
Okay, so if I get your question right, is that the mom currently is working at home or not? Working at home.
Is going to the office, and then the kid is staying with the father at home.
Okay, so when the mom comes back, the child will throw tantrum to the mom.
Tantrum, yeah.
Okay, so like I said, there's reason. I should repeat, like, what's the reason behind the child throw tantrum? So firstly, it could be to get the attention from the mom. So also I will need to know that when the child throw tantrum, how the mom reacted. So if the mom will go and, okay, why are you throwing tantrum, crying, like that. So always, okay, of course, the child is one of the, it could be one of the thing that the child does is to want to get the mom attention. Okay, because maybe the whole day the child is at home, didn't see the mom, he or she misses the mom. So when I come back, then he would do things just to get attention from the mom. Okay, so actually, what I would suggest the mom can do is, if possible, have maybe 10 half an hour or 15 minutes every day consistently spend time just with the child, but have to be consistent, do something together. For example, can read a book, can tell story, do some quiet activities, like for example play puzzle, doing blocks, just to spend only with the child, no phone, no TV, nothing, just with the child every day, so that the child knows that, okay, actually I have my own slot appointment, so-called appointment with my mom. And also, if the child is able to express himself or herself, the mom also actually can ask the child, so how do you feel? You look very sad, what happened? You look very angry, what happened? Maybe the child will just say something, yeah, can say how we feel, can talk to the child. That's what I would suggest lah. So we know, when we know why the child, or what reason the child is behaving that way, then we can, only that we can acknowledge and teach another way for him to get attention from the mom. So I say having the 15 minutes, it will be helpful also, just to spend time with the child.
Okay, understand. So for in other way for the child to show how he wants some attention from parents is maybe through maybe the parents can change how the kids show attention to, maybe parents can, after going home, spend some more time with kids without anything that screen time or anything, maybe do the some interactive play with the kid after going work, because maybe because the father also is at home, right? So the time with the dad also is very limited. So that's how the kids show he wants some attention, affectionateness from the parents. Okay. So Karma, actually we only have a few more minutes before we end our live session. So because so this is our live sessions, okay? So all right. So everyone, it's time for us to say goodbye actually. So thank you for joining us. I hope this has been beneficial for everyone. So from all of this, I summarize that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to share burdens with others, and also it's important to validate other feelings, especially your children. And as Kama mentioned earlier, this is not sign of weakness to seek for help. So if it's difficult for you, it's okay to reach out, okay? So parents can go to our previous Facebook Live if you are not sure how to stimulate your children during this pandemic, as we cover some of it. Thank you, Carmen, for being my partner for today. Okay, everyone,
Thank
please
you
take
so
care. I
much,
see you
everyone.
for another Facebook Live. Bye bye.